Even though I've been playing Animal Crossing New Horizons since it launched in March 2020, I still find myself learning things that I didn't know. And oftentimes these are things that I really wish I had known sooner because it would have helped with my gameplay so much. Since the holiday season has just been, I figured that a lot of new players will be joining us. So I asked my viewers to share some things that they wish they had known sooner in Animal Crossing New Horizons so that we can share them with you and hopefully they might help out. Whether you've just joined the game or you've been playing for a long time already, there's some tips in here which I definitely think you'll find really useful to know. Starting us off, Paul Atier shared, you cannot move the city hall, airport or the river entry points. Have that in mind when choosing your island map. So that is 100% correct. When you choose your map, there are certain things that you are completely stuck with throughout your entire time playing that you physically cannot change no matter what you do. The position of your resident services, the airport and the color of your airport as well. Then we have natural features like the river mouths, the secret beach, the location of your dock, and even the giant grey rocks around your beach as well. So you'll definitely want to choose carefully when starting up a new file. Although the game does allow us to change the position of most of the buildings, especially all of the ones that we actually place down ourselves, which is really great, there are definitely some limitations which are pretty frustrating, and you will have to work around these unfortunately. So it might not be worth choosing a map that has a resident services incredibly close to the airport for example, as it could be a lot harder to design, although there are plenty of good ideas out there too. Megaroni says, I wish I had known to keep an eye on which things you can order once they've catalogued and which things you can't. For example, Sahara's rugs can be ordered, but her flooring and wallpaper cannot be. There are some pretty rad seasonal Nook shopping items that you can only get for a few days out of the year. So yes, this is true, some of the items in the game definitely cannot be ordered, and you can actually see this through your catalog by using the toggle to take out items which are unorderable. These can be a variety of different things, from materials that you'd collect around the island to special photos your villagers give you and more. And yes, there are definitely lots of seasonal Nook shopping items which are only available for a limited amount of time throughout the year, so if you don't get them, naturally you would have to wait an entire year to get them again. It's always worth checking the Nook shopping app, or if you just have the terminal in resident services then checking that instead. It is worth noting though that most of the items you see in Nook's Cranny itself can be ordered at any time from your catalog, which is really useful. So if you only have one of an item and you really want to get your hands on more, it's definitely worth checking through. Bumble Honey says that villagers have favorite colors, styles, food, handheld items, and hobbies. Never knew that Sasha was the only male villager with a fashion hobby until reading his profile on Wikipedia, and found out nearly all of my villagers have the education hobby. No wonder my town life felt a bit dull. Getting some musical, play, and fashion hobbied villagers puts more life in the background and contrast to my education nerds. So honestly, I kind of knew about some of this, but I had no idea that it affected what your villagers actually did around the island so much until I read this comment, which is really cool. I definitely recommend using Wikipedia like they mentioned for finding out more information about your villagers and their hobbies and such. It's such a useful resource for this sort of thing, so I'm definitely going to be looking up to see which hobbies my villagers have. I'm really curious. I know a lot of people really enjoy the little activities that our villagers do around the island, so this could be a really great way of getting to know them better. Katie Glabe says, your island probably won't end up looking like the ones on YouTube and Instagram, and that's okay. And this is definitely a very valid point. This isn't necessarily a gameplay tip itself, but I definitely think it's something to keep in mind. I do often see comments from people bringing down their own islands and such because they don't look like another one they've seen, but honestly every island is different and that's a good thing. If they all look the same, it would be really boring. I think as long as you've given your island your own personal touch, then it's definitely going to look great. I still get comments from people telling me that my island looks like a maze and they would hate to play in it, but the beautiful thing is it's my island and I've designed it exactly how I like, and I recommend that everyone else does the same. Super Tita64 says that golden tools could be broken still, so if you've played old Animal Crossing games and not New Horizons yet, maybe you've only just started with this version of Animal Crossing, you might remember that golden tools used to be completely invincible. Well, sadly this is not the case in Animal Crossing New Horizons. They definitely can break. They do have a lot more durability than other tools, which is useful, but honestly it does feel like a huge downgrade to the previous Animal Crossing games, so be careful with your golden tools, because once they break you will have to craft another one. Ali Langdon says that garbage cans actually work. I had no idea until I went to move one of them and it asked what items I wanted to get rid of. So yes, if you have any items in your pockets that you just can't be bothered to sell to Nook's Cranny and you want to discard of immediately, then you can use any rubbish can around your island to get rid of them. For example, if you have something like fake art that was given to you by Red or another villager, or maybe you have some spoiled turnip, or just anything else that has extended its welcome in your inventory, you can get rid of it immediately. This is definitely a really useful one to know, and I feel like there's a lot of people who don't realize that these items actually have their own special functionality as well, so I highly recommend using them like this. Fire the Dragon says to never leave your island too long without containing the flowers with a custom design or stone/brick path. Another really great tip here, flowers can easily take over your island, especially if you have the beautiful town ordinance and there's lots of rain happening. So definitely make sure you contain those flowers because they will spread and take over everything, and it'll be quite a pain to get rid of them once they have. Thankfully you can get rid of flowers, but there's no automatic way of doing this. You'll have to dig them up one by one, you can't even pick them up, so it can be a really long and arduous process. This is personally why I do not choose the beautiful ordnance on my island, because I really don't want it infested with flowers. Corbin Crossing says, when you catch a fish and it says yes, that means it's new and you've never caught it before. If you're still trying to complete your Critterpedia and finish the museum, then this is something really helpful to know. It can be really hard to keep track of all the bugs, fish, and sea creatures that the game has, so I definitely find this one to be really useful. Rotten Rat says, catchphrases spread. This is something that I learned the hard way in Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've given my villagers some fairly stupid catchphrases over the years, and they still say them to this day because they've spread from villager to villager. As your villagers interact with each other and time goes by, these catchphrases will spread like wildfire, so it's definitely a good idea to be careful about what catchphrases you're giving to them. Keep in mind that if another player decides to come visit your island, they could see these catchphrases that your villagers are saying, even if you didn't give it to a certain one. Honestly, I like to keep them with their normal standard catchphrases, but that can be quite hard to do, especially when they ask you for a new one. Klo Zentime says, turnips go bad if you time travel. So this is one of the main and kind of only consequences of time traveling in Animal Crossing New Horizons, your turnips will go bad. The game obviously doesn't want you manipulating the stock market, so if you time travel they will go bad, but I believe it's only if you time travel backwards. Of course, if you time travel past their expiry date, then they're definitely going to go rotten. But trying to go backwards to a day where you had a much better selling price for your turnips, that's just not going to fly with Nintendo and they will completely rot, so keep that in mind before you waste tons of your bells. Now, in the comment section down below, I'd love for you to share which things you wish you had known sooner in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Hopefully these tips should be really useful to players, and I appreciate everyone who has sent them in. If you made it to the end of this video, be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below so I know that you did. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on channel notifications for more Animal Crossing videos.